How do and good evening to you all. Got quite an important story regarding the Boeing 737s that's had issues lately. Now, most of you will be aware that the other day I did a video. It's quite long, but I think it's well worth listening to. Basically, on my concerns with diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring in various industries, and I focused on that particular one on an article to do with aviation safety issues. And I believe it's to do a lot of the issues that have been happening has been down to the diversity hiring. Now, that isn't to say that I don't think that people from various minority backgrounds can't be high achieving individuals. They absolutely can. What I am saying is, though, is when you start pushing for 50% representation in a company, but you're only hiring from, say, 15 to 20% of an entire population to make that 50%, you're going to have to make some creative decisions on the hiring policy, so to speak. And then within 24 hours, the door plug on a plane flying across Canada blew out mid-flight. Quite terrifying for those involved. And all Boeing 737s, MAX 9s have been grounded for inspections. Anyway, I've just seen an article on the BBC site, which I'll share with you now. I'll put the link below for yourself. This is going to be very, very interesting. I've only read a couple of lines on it, but I think this is going to further prove what I've already been saying. Boeing 737 MAX 9, United Airlines finds loose bolts in jet inspections. Now, this for myself, people might say, well, bolts can just work loose. Well, that is true. They can, especially on moving parts. However, these doors aren't moving parts. It wasn't an actual door. It was what was called a door plug, which is where you would normally have a door. They remove the door itself and just basically put a section of wall in there and fit it, so it's effectively just a solid wall. Although you can see where the door is, and a door, I believe, can be fitted at a later date if required. Now, I have got mechanical experience myself. I was a mechanic when I was in the army. Now, I'm not saying I'm some highly qualified engineer. I've not been to university or anything like that, but I've got enough experience on spanners and doing inspections and things to know what I'm talking about, at least in that sense. I also worked on the railway where I was driving an engineering train, which was engaged in safety critical preventative maintenance, and part of my job role on that train was not only driving the train, but I was also engaged in doing maintenance and repairs on the train and overhauls. So once again, a lot of experience in doing this type of work, and this type of inspection should be something that is Billy Basics. This is the inspecting bolts is something that you would get trainees to do. I'm not saying that a more experienced person wouldn't double check the work afterwards, but it is not difficult work and you can teach somebody to do it very quickly. So the fact that loose bolts are getting found, especially on a plane, is very, very worrying indeed from a standards point of view, and how these inspections are actually getting carried out. So, bolts in need of additional tightening have been found during inspections of a Boeing 737 MAX 9, United Airlines have said. So what that is saying to me is that these bolts haven't been getting torque checked correctly. And what that means is you have a special tool called a torque wrench, and it is designed, it acts like a sort of ratchet spanner, but what it'll do is when it gets to a certain pressure, there'll be a bar inside it that breaks temporarily, and that just breaks so that you know you've reached the pressure that you're supposed to be at. So these, from my mind, haven't been getting torque checked, and that is a regular job, is to go around inspecting certain things. Now on the railway, one job that we did, one way of helping with this was we would get Tipex pen and we would put Tipex lines going over not over just the bolt head, but also going onto the frame itself as well, so you could see if the white line had moved. But we would still do regular checks just to make sure that the threads hadn't stretched and warped, because that is only an indicator and doesn't tell you if it's torqued properly or not. United Airlines said installation issues relating to door plugs would be remedied before the aircraft type would return to service. Inspections began after a section of a fuselage fell from an Alaskan Airlines 737 MAX 9 on Friday. I've heard that it was so powerful. It's very lucky that nobody got pulled out of the plane, by the way. Somebody's shirt got ripped off the back from the pressure, and the pilot's headset in the actual plane, the door for the cabin, got blown off and blown. I don't know if the door got fully removed or if it was just pulled open or not, and the pilot's headset got ripped off his head as well. So this was a lot of air pressure that suddenly shifted. Very, very frightening and very, very serious. And how nobody got pulled out of the plane to a very, very miserable death is beyond me, and thank the Lord above that didn't happen. Alaska Airlines says it has since found some loose hardware on some MAX 9s. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, which regulates air travel in the US, has grounded 171 planes of the same type. Well, to be honest with you, at this point, I think the entire fleet needs grounding, and I think a full overhaul over how inspections are carried out and hiring practices definitely needs to be investigated as well. United said, since we began preliminary inspections on Saturday, we have found instances that appear to relate to installation issues in the door plug. For example, bolts that needed additional tightening. Yeah, I mean, that is just Billy basic stuff, like loose bolts. That just shouldn't be happening on this, in my opinion, and to me, that is saying either subpar inspection maintenance schedule or subpar inspectors, or possibly a combination of both. And I doubt it's going to be the maintenance schedule, because that is probably the same maintenance schedule that's been going on for years and they haven't had problems before. United said, since we began preliminary inspections on Saturday, we have found instances that appear to relate to the installation of issues using the door plug. Oh, I've already read that. The door plug is a piece of fuselage with a window that fills the space where an emergency exit would be in certain configurations. Yep. It would be part of the Alaska Airlines plane, which dramatically fell off mid-flight over the US state of Oregon, eventually landing in a teacher's back garden. I mean, that's another point as well. That could have killed somebody falling down. It doesn't, even if it was only, even just a small bolt falling off the plane could kill somebody. The aircraft made an emergency landing, but none of the passengers or crew were seriously injured. The plane's door plug was recovered from the teacher's backyard in Oregon and was found without 4 bolts. The National Transportation Safety Board said on Monday night, 4 bolts missing. Now, it could be that those bolts have flung out whilst falling. I don't know how the bolts are actually fitted into it. I don't know if they're just a loose fit into. It could just be that the door plug's just got a hole in it, just a smooth hole, no threads, and the bolt could just go through and then screw into an insert on the other side. Or it may be that the bolts are actually fitted into the frame itself and are actually quite secure and need a special tool to remove them. I don't know, is my honest answer to that. I'm just purely speculating. But the fact that they've made a point of the 4 bolts being missing is indicating to me that there may be an actual specific reason why those bolts are missing, and that they aren't just loose sitting and loose fitting bolts, which then fit to a more secure bulkhead afterwards. Its chair, Jennifer Homendy, told reporters that it's possible the bolts were missing from the start, but they may have come off in the descent. Well, that's what I just said as well, innit? So the vast majority of Boeing 737 MAX 9s used in the US are operated by United Airlines and Alaska, while Turkish Airlines, Panama Copa Airlines and Aeromexico have also grounded jets of the same model for inspections. Well, that's good that other companies are taking proactive action with this, because it is incredibly serious. And they're very, like I said, they're very lucky that nobody got pulled out of the plane. United has said it cancelled 200 flights as of Monday and expected significant cancellations on Tuesday. We've been able to operate some planned flights by switching to other aircraft types, avoiding about 30 cancellations each. Right. I think basically, I'm going to just have a quick click through, see if I can find anything else, but it just seems to be just talking about general. 9 aircraft remain grounded. Yeah, the FAA said all 737 MAX 9 aircraft will remain grounded until operators complete enhanced inspections, which include both left and right cabin door, exit plugs, door components and fasteners. Operators must complete corrective action requirements based on findings from the inspections prior to bringing the aircraft back into service, the statement added. Flight 1282 reached 16,000 feet where it began its emergency descent on Friday evening, according to flight tracking data. I believe, I'm not 100% certain on this, but I believe they don't have the flight recording data either, because for some reason, and again, I'm not fully aware of this, but the way that the data records on them, it operates on a loop. So previous material that's not required gets recorded over by newer material, and I believe that for some reason they've not got the data because it ended up being recorded over. Now, it might explain that here, it might not, but I'm curious to know if that's intentionally happened or not, or if there's a bit of a cover-up or not. Images shared online and later by investigators showed a wide hole in the side of the craft. Passengers were quoted by the Oregonian newspaper as saying that a young boy seated near the affected area had his shirt ripped off by the force of the decompression. That must have been terrifying. Absolutely. I said in my video talking about this, I would have ended up with brown pants. I'm not even going to lie about that. And I wouldn't even be ashamed about it either. It's just terrifying. Seeing if there's anything else here, anything new. There is an image on here showing how the basic setup is, but it's not a technical drawing, so to speak, so it doesn't really tell much. It just gives you like a basic blueprint picture, just showing you the basic mounting points and that, but it's not showing you like how the actual thread inserts are or anything like really overly technical. So I won't bother showing it, but go on the page to look at it yourself. The 7379 ground is significant. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I just thought that'd be quite interesting for people to know that there is inspections ongoing. I do think that there is serious lapses of judgment happening here, and I do think that inspections aren't getting carried out as they're supposed to. That's my own personal opinion based on my own previous experience and knowledge. However, in different industries, working on different machineries to different standards. But I do find it incredibly strange that they've been finding multiple bolts loose. I find it very strange, and you can't even say it's down to a calibration issue with tools, because on multiple planes, that would mean that multiple tools aren't getting calibrated, which in and of itself would be frightening that they aren't keeping up on top of the calibration dates. But even then, even something out of calibration, generally, all you're doing with the calibration is putting it into a machine, testing it, see if it works to the right pressure, and then you just get a new sticker on it. So it's not even that the tools get adjusted, it's just saying this tool still works as it always has done. So even then, a tool like calibration should still work properly. You know, it's quite rare that an uncalibrated tool is actually ineffective at what it's supposed to do. Anyway, I'll get going. If you found it informative, interesting, or anything like that, please like, subscribe, put a comment below. I'll speak to you later. Bye bye.